It happens sometimes in East Sullivan Cup Asia. I say sometimes, like every couple of months, basically you'd have like Korean bettors impersonating casters to try to sneak into lobbies, so that they can bypass the delay, the stream delay, so they can get their bets in like faster than other people, like with a 2-minute advantage, stuff like that. So it's something we stay vigilant on, especially for the Korean events, to try to catch people like that. But here we go, we're diving into our next game, into our next series, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the Italian Zerg player, the Red Zerg representing Basilisk. It is Reynor. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran, representing Cloud9. It is GuMiho. Let's go. Hello, Mr. 2-Rax Reaper. As GuMiho is going to be opening up 2-Rax Reaper here on the low ground, is going to be the aggressor initially, and I mean, I'm looking forward to it. This is another big reason why I wanted to jump into Reynor versus GuMiho, just because, or Reynor in general, just because we were lined up to face off against GuMiho. GuMiho, of course, being our most recent Home Story Cup champion. GuMiho is our reigning champion from land of Germany, in a sense. But there were no Zerg players. The reality is there was no Serral, there was no Dark, there was no Solar, there was no Reynor, there was no Lambo either. The Zerg representative of the tournament was a Laser, if you recall. So we haven't been able to see too much of GuMiho's TVZ as of late. We are ready to embrace it. How does it compare here to Reynor? As for now, we are opening up a little bit safer. It was a 15-15 by Reynor. Very safe opener. Is going to allow him to get into and invest into earlier Queen production, and will be quite safe against the Reaper aggression of GuMiho. Let's go. Let us go. Reaper moving out across the map. We do have additional Reapers behind this. Should just be 3 Reapers. If Reynor attempts to expand, then we can invest into a 4th and 5th Reaper, but 3 Reapers is the minimum we need. So we get across the map, threading the mineral line. And the goal of this build from GuMiho is just to delay the 3rd and contain on 2 bases as... Oh my god. He almost gets a drone. Calm down. Drone pulls back. Reapers confirm there is no hatchery. And GuMiho is still making an extra pair of Reapers. Interesting. Making a 4th and 5th Reaper. And will allow this to complete. Okay, bold move out of GuMiho. This will delay add-ons. This means that his add-ons are going to be a little bit later than normal. We see why. GuMiho going for a 3rd... GuMiho, an insanely fast 3rd CC. Okay. Going 2-Rax Reaper into a 3rd CC into a 3rd Rax as well. Very greedy. Which means, obviously, we delay our add-ons. Do we delay our factory, delay our starport? We could even throw down the 4th Rax, but, okay, now, because of this, now it makes sense why we made extra Reapers. The reasoning for this is because without a factory follow-up, there's no Hellions. There's no Hellions, there's no map control either for GuMiho. So the reason why we double down and we make extra Reapers is so we can pose a threat and we can delay creep, we can, you know, chip away at the army, we can just keep Reynor honest and try to scout as best we can to make up for our lack of Hellions. Reapers go for the dive. Queens are in position. 3rd base under fire. Can we force another cancel? Ooh, it looks like we can. Yeah, the 3rd base getting very low. We force a 2nd cancel. But Reynor, he has a Roach Warren. Roach Warren is about to finish up hidden behind the mineral line at the natural. Roach Warren is on the way. Lair about to finish up behind this as well. Very fast Lair. Reynor skipping link speed. And Reynor will be moving out with Roaches, but I'm curious, is this just Roaches to defend, or do we intend to double down? Looks like we're droning. Okay, it looks like Reynor, he's only making a safety amount of Roaches while he drones up. So 4 Roaches have arrived. GuMiho behind this, getting into his 3 racks, followed by the factory at the starport. Stim is on the way. And there's that starport for GuMiho. Now, Reynor will confirm the 3rd CC is already done, And now Reynor has a lot of pressure on him. What I'm referring to, we've entered a very odd game state that we rarely see, where the Terran is ahead on bases. Like, this is not often seen in this matchup. GuMiho, he's got his third before Reynor even has his own third done. Now, thankfully, Reynor, he delays with a changeling. Cute move. Very cute move there out of Reynor. Like, any delay is so important here. Just because GuMiho has been so greedy and has been so active as well. And now we're moving out with the stim timing. Stim is done. Now, there's no support. There's no medevacs with this. There's no Hellions. There's no, just no way to really support the bio army. This tells me that every stim counts. Every stim does count. We scan, we spot the roaches, we back off. We see the mass roach army, and GuMiho gets the hell out of here. Does back off. Reynor joining up to 54 and continuing to drone, but moving out with his first wave of roaches. And without bunkers, this is going to be a tight hold. Oh. Has GuMiho been too greedy? Have we cut too many corners? Reynor going to be pushing in. And again, because of the delayed factory, like, we have delayed tank production. Roaches push in. 2 Reapers go down. We do activate the first stim. And roaches are being shaved off. And can we dive on the army? Not quite. Medevacs have barely arrived before it's a second stim. Boys are being pulled. And so far, Reynor, he's trading well. Forcing out stims, denying mining time. A tank has arrived. Now Reynor backs off. And this entire time, Reynor has been droning and taking a fourth. Like, Reynor was not committed. He was not all in. He was just trying to make sure that GuMiho didn't get away with a fast third. And that was some good damage. Didn't kill GuMiho, but again, denied mining time, shaved off marines. Spent energy. And from here, Reynor backs off, and we're getting ready for Ling Bane Roach Ravager. We have melee upgrades on the way. Hive as well. Very fast Hive here out of Reynor. Very fast Hive. Does unload. Thankfully, Reynor, he's in position. Has eyes on the drop. Oh my god. Goes to the vials. And so far, Reynor, he's maintaining his 4 bases, getting up to 80 workers. Hive is now done. Who is it? Oh, no, Rex. As looks like one of our casters is having some latency issues. Rex, of course, a Taiwanese Zerg player, is casting in his own native language on his own channel. It is a bit of a shame, though, that our connection is a little bit unstable, but hopefully everything's okay. Hopefully Rex can maybe join us for the next game after he resolves any issues going on. But he's gonna time out. Smooth. Emil, papi. And thankfully this is happening before any big fights. Like, we're not in any like major engagement or anything like that. It's like we're just macroing at the moment. GuMiho's being active, but there's no big fight, so thankfully this isn't really impacting you know, the players too much. So okay, Rex does timeouts. We dive back in. Okay, now that the Hive is done, we're going straight for the Ultra Cavern. Okay. Ultra's on the horizon. Vipers are on the way. Yeah, settling in. Scan does reveal the tech. Very nice scan here out of GuMiho. Fully aware of the Vipers, of the Hive, and of the Ultra Cavern. This should trigger a Ghost Academy. And a move towards Ghost production as well. Oh, we're in for a long one. I can... Do you see what I see? I see 2 orbitals on the way. Oh boy. We're getting to our orbitals. We're getting to our tank production as well. Double factory. And I can see already the lines being drawn. And GuMiho getting ready to turtle up. We're not quite there yet. Like, I can feel it. Seen long ZvTs on Oceanborn in the past. Now Ultra production has begun. We have Kindness Plating, Adrenal, getting into our upgrades. Then counterattack. Can we catch some tanks? Not quite. Bold move there by Reynor. We did have a quick unsiege out of GuMiho, making sure he did not cause any friendly fire. Nice moves. That was how many links? That was 33 links for 2 Marines. Not the best trade. But Reynor, he had a bank. Can bleed out some links. It's okay. Meanwhile, we spoke about working towards Ghosts, but even better than that, we have Liberator range on the horizon. Fusion course on the way. That's going to be for Lib range. To settle into Tank Lib. No Ghost Academy yet. Sticking with fire. As we do have the Ultras revealing themselves, the first tank is going to go down. The first tank does fall. GuMiho, we spoke about the wall. This is what we mentioned. This is what we were. This is what we did refer to. CC is on the way. Turrets, tanks. Likewise, we have walling off here on the right-hand side. Again, lines are being drawn. Viper coming in, though, to shut down the tanks. Here we have the first yoink. So a brutal moment for these Ultras, though. They do overextend up the ramp. One tank did fall. Nice power bomb on the medevac, but the splits from GuMiho does pull away. Splits against the power bomb, and it looks like GuMiho will maintain this position. Did bleed out one tank, but just the one. Ooh, this is going to be an expensive loss of roaches. We bleed out so many roaches for a single tank. We did want to get rid of them, true, but that was 18 roaches for one tank. A brutal trade for Reynor. Getting into link production. Working towards 3-3. Spires on the way. That's going to be for a Greater Spire and for Broodlords, if we need them. Oh, nice catch. 2 Marauders go down. Nice catch from Reynor. Ghost Academy now on the way. More CCs, more orbitals. Now, because the orbital count is getting higher and higher, that means that we can get away with a lower SCV counts. We have 84 workers now, but over time, GuMiho is going to want to bleed out those workers and have a higher army supply instead. Like, the way this works is that Reynor should have the better economy with all these bases, but GuMiho will have the larger and more efficient army. It's kind of the ebb and flow of ZvT as the game goes on. Reynor has to be very careful with his trades, as he does immediately saturate top right, which I do appreciate. Tank goes down. But it's so important right now that Reynor, he is not saturating this northern base. He just has it for Larva, and he's prioritizing these center bases instead. Much more important as we go for a Doom Drop. Yeah, Doom Drop into the natural does force a big reaction. GuMiho is racing back home. At the same time, ooh, Viper overextends. Gets a Blinding Cloud. And the Ultras, they're busting through the tank line. We have not left enough Marauders. No Ghosts either. And the Ultras, they break through. At the same time, 22 SCVs going down, and GuMiho is being pulled apart. He just cannot keep up. The Ultras, they go to town at 27 workers. From here, Reynor can back up, but he did the damage he was looking for. How much did we get? Oh, we borrowed Banelings. But that was 5 Ultras for 8 tanks. 26 SCVs. A good chunk of bio. Scans to make sure we get eyes on any hidden units. Any borrowed links. Ghosts have now arrived. My eyes are still on these Banelings. There's potential. There's definitely potential. Again, the scans that you saw there are just to make sure there's no links borrowed, as it is very common to borrow links in that kind of situation. Scan does reveal the Banelings. GuMiho does spot them. And Reynor has remax. So is GuMiho, but GuMiho, he had to burn through his bank. That's what's important right now, is that GuMiho did have to burn through quite a bank to replace all those tanks. Meanwhile, Reynor mining through top right. Not yet expanding bottom or center left. Love to see the center left base being taken while we can. And we'll love to see if snipes going up in the Ravagers. Reynor overextending a little bit here, but the goal is to delay the expansion. GuMiho is taking the center base. Now, what's scary about this base is that, well, as we go for the Mule Hammer, is that we can threaten top center right. We can threaten that center right base quite quickly. Reynor at the same time with the secondary army, moving out, expanding towards the center left. So as Reynor loses this base, we can take this base instead. As we lose one, we can take the other. Oh, Reynor going for a massive counterattack. Does hit these CCs. They do buy some time. The lift is real. Yeah, Reynor threatening both bases, but so far GuMiho is keeping up. The orbital does go down. Reynor making room, busting onto the planetary. Ooh, the SCVs did bunch up for a moment. Workers are going down. And the planetary looks like it will fall. Yeah, the repairs are not good enough. Planetary goes down at the same time. Banelings do crash in. 19 SCVs go down. Very nicely done here by Reynor. But GuMiho, he breaks out. And GuMiho does have the supply lead. He could try to threaten that hatchery, but alas, it doesn't quite go for it. Now, on the one hand, we don't have that many mineral patches left at this base, but we do need to try to mine as much as we can. The Mule Hammer is real. And we spoke about it earlier. Again, GuMiho, he's only on 45 workers. He has a very low SCV count, but we spoke about how at a certain point in ZvT, you don't need SCVs. Not anymore. It's all about the mules. And again, GuMiho's army supply is massive. He's got 153 army supply compared to the 108 of Reynor. So if basically, if Reynor takes a really bad fight, if he does overextend and bleeds out too much, then the push from GuMiho is going to be insane. It's going to hit like a truck. But we do catch some tanks. Very nice run by 2 tanks go down. Can we get another? Ooh, not quite. But very efficient trade. At the same time, Lings, they attempt to hit the center tower. They will. Center tower goes down. Lings burrow. More Ling Bane is amassing. Vipers are zoned away. And here come the Banelings. Reynor going to be committing here. Takes down 1 tank. Takes down the Hellbats. And it looks like we can get into the mineral line. And Banelings, they do roll in. GuMiho not quite in position. The Ghosts finally rotate over. But it looks like this should have forced GuMiho to move out, and he should look to knock down this base. And again, Reynor, it is expected to lose this base, but he was able to mine quite nicely out of this and make it pay for itself. Lings, they get another tank! Wouldn't leave any bio! Yeah, only tanks are left behind. Massive pickups. GuMiho is getting pulled apart, and we needed some kind of bio left over. That's a kill on the CC. And GuMiho is going to keep on pushing. He knocks down 1 hatchery and he's going for another. Bold move, but GuMiho will shut down 2 bases. Most of the workers are saved. GuMiho is going to try to chase him down. Once again, Pure Ling catching more tanks. Like, these tanks are just so exposed. And you can punish them so hard with just Pure Ling. Drones attempt to escape. Ooh, none of them do. 20 workers go down. But bearing in mind that even though Reynor lost 2 hatcheries, we have center left and we have a bank. Like Reynor, he can remax. He can afford some of these losses. Reynor, though, we had a larva. Oh. Reynor is running out of larva. That's the one thing keeping Reynor down. He's been making so many lings that he actually doesn't have larva to spend his money. And if GuMiho pushes now, Reynor, he's gonna fall over. Wait, send it! Like, if GuMiho pushes in the next couple of seconds here, Reynor, he can't remax. That's why his supply isn't going up. Ugh, feels bad, man. No injects, no lava. Okay, GuMiho's rotating. Okay, he's rotating over towards the fringe bases, which means he's giving Reynor time to rebuild. Bane rolling in. More corruptors on the way. Reynor spies about to finish. Okay, looks like our plan here is for these corruptors to morph into broodlords. I would imagine. I would imagine the broodlords are on the horizon here. Scan does reveal the Ling Bane. Hatchery goes down. The drones are saved. Reynor, he rotates over instead. Catches a tank. Bailey's, we get some okay connections, but not ideal, and we're bleeding out too much. It's becoming far too much here. Reynor, he doesn't have an army left. Broodlords are now on the way, but we need time. We desperately need time here, and GuMiho backs off. Okay. I was like, once again, if GuMiho did move out here and then, Reynor has no Ling Bane to defend. He has Hydra, Broodlord. He has very little support for his Hydras, but GuMiho, he backs off and he rotates. So GuMiho is playing this very carefully, and you could argue that GuMiho is respecting Reynor a little bit too much. Where GuMiho is not going for these kind of big pushes, he's just denying these fringe bases over and over again, playing it safe. Lings diving in, they get a surround, they go for the planetary. Planetary is saved, GuMiho rotating to the right hand side, being caught out. Broodlords are revealed. Reynor, he is burning through that bank though. Like, this slow and steady pace here from GuMiho, it's still doing well. Reynor, he once had a 4K mineral bank. Now he has nothing. Now, Reynor, he has no minerals whatsoever. Ghosts are coming in, the snipes are popping up. We catch a Broodlord. How many Broodlords left? 8. 8 Broodlords remaining. Massive fungal, but there's no follow-up. The fungal doesn't even matter. Yeah, snipes are going off, and GuMiho is still snowballing out of control. I was concerned that he was giving Reynor too much time, but nah, we were fine. Yeah, GG gets called. Reynor has nothing left, and GuMiho will take game number 1. Whew. GG. Again, I was so concerned that GuMiho was allowing Reynor to remax and to make use of his bank. But GuMiho was trading efficiently enough. GuMiho, he still had control of the map. He still eventually had control of the economy as well, as Reynor did eventually burn through his bank, and GuMiho did snowball out of control. GG, well played. GuMiho takes a lead. Whew. GG. All those borrowed units are wasting scans though. It's not like he's got infinite mules. He doesn't have infinite mules, but he has enough. Like, sure, they were forcing scans, but we had like 10 orbitals. It's a lot, Bobby. It's a lot. Like, GuMiho, his economy was holding his own with said economy. Was holding his own. Now we're getting ready for game number 2. I should also, as we have our lobby. Beautiful. Beautiful. We have our lobby. Game 2 is going to be on side Delta. I should also reiterate as well that it isn't just about, Terrans relying on mules to be able to get away with a lower SCV count, but also, like, in general, their army is more efficient, so they shouldn't be losing as many units. They should be able to maintain their losses a little bit more efficiently, even with a low worker count, and be able to rebuild and remax. That is also why it was really important that Reynor was able to catch those tanks. Remember, he caught, like, I want to say 5 or 6 tanks, like, consecutively there, which was really nice for Reynor. But alas, he just was bleeding out a lot of Ling Bane, and yeah, was having a hard time maintaining himself against GuMiho. And with that, GG. GG, well played. We're getting into game number 2. We're getting into that second game. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of side Delta, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran representing Cloud9, our most recent Home Story Cup champion. It is GuMiho. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the South Korean, the Italian Zerg player living in South Korea. I got it mixed up. Representing Basilisk, it is Reynor. Here we go. Now, I believe Reynor is scheduled to return to Italy soon. I don't have any clear dates on that. I'm pretty sure Reynor and Basilisk spoke about it, so if you're a little bit more informed, then we would appreciate being let know. But I know that his return to Europe is imminent, from my understanding. Is soon TM. But it's been really cool to see Reynor, of course, traveling to Korea and competing in Korea. Is not something we see too often nowadays, especially post-COVID, right? Like, we once had a foreigner team house, right? There was a team house in Korea, and we had players coming in and out and rotating. They had a nice place to stay. They had a nice practice environment with friends as well. But COVID killed that. For those who are maybe unaware, because of COVID, basically all the players had to return. They had to kind of leave Korea, return to their homeland, if you will, and that meant that the team house had to close down, and we haven't really had too much of an initiative to bring it back post-COVID, unfortunately. Haven't had too much of an initiative. I know that I mean, I say that, I know that last year it was Scarlet, Estrella, Future, and Zane. They were living together in Korea for a little bit. I know that they were together for a couple of months. Under the Future and Estrella, that was streaming from there. They weren't really making content together, but you know, they were being active, and it was really cool to see. But that was only for a time. Hopefully something like that comes back. Would be nice to see. As for now, we are settling down. GuMiho opening up with a 1-1-1. Okay, interesting. As a reminder, last game, GuMiho opened up 2 racks Reaper into a 3rd CC. Very greedy follow-up from GuMiho in Game 1. Here in Game 2, aggression. We don't often delay the 3rd base in TVZ, but here we have. So a big delay in the 3rd, big prioritization of the starport of medevac production. I would not be surprised if we even throw down something like an armory with this. This could be the beginnings of a Hellbat push. As we go for the add-on sub, getting into Banshee production early on. So Hellions into Banshee, and we'll keep an eye on any other hidden tech here. On the potential armory, as Cloak is being researched. Hellions are amassing. Back at home, Reynor hatch gas pool into a 3rd. Standard opener out of Reynor is joining up. GuMiho being active. He's got how many Hellions so far? 4 Hellions, soon to be 6. Do you have an extra wave behind this? Well, soon to be 5, technically. And Hellions, we just go for the dive. Oh my god, GuMiho. He goes to the dive, risky move, and he's going to get punished. He gets punished so hard, every Hellion goes down. If he wanted to go for a Hellbat push, then it's not going to happen. Not anymore. Looking up every single Hellion, that was not worth it for GuMiho. And with that, we've lost a lot of bite here. Now we have no map control. 3rd CC now on the way. And Reynor, he can freely drone. From this moment on, he can just freely drone up, just focus on Queen defense, and just skip out on Lings. Again, we have a handful of Lings here to defend, but that's all we really need. Ooh, and we have Cyclones on the way. Is this the beginning of mech? Will we see a 2nd factory? I'm feeling it. We'll see. I mean, GuMiho did flex his bio in Game 1. Now is the time for GuMi mech. Potentially. As the Banshee has arrived, gets a drone, and gets a 2nd worker, a 3rd drone as well. Very nicely done. The Banshee now making up for the dead Hellions earlier. 3 drone kills, we pick off Lings, head towards a third base, no Spore in position, we could have dealt even more damage here. Get a 4th and a 5th drone. And there it is, double armory. We spoke about the armory earlier. I was getting ready for a Hellbat push myself, but I just doubled down, papi. We're getting ready for the mech. So GuMiho is making it up, is known for his mech as well. It's not a style that we see too often at this level of play. We saw it a lot more often in the last patch with the previous Cyclone, like Clem played mech, Beyond played mech, Maru as well. On the new patch though, the most recent patch, it has kind of petered out quite a bit. I think the last time we saw Clem play mech was like at the start of the patch, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, like pre-DreamHack Dallas, post-IM Katowice. But it's not something often done anymore after the change of the Cyclone. But GuMiho, he still does enjoy it. Still does embrace it. Still does embrace it. There we go. 4 factories on the way. Have our 1-1 upgrades. Hellion Cyclone rotating around. And looks like he will catch a queen. Likes mech on this particular map, I think. I mean, this isn't a bad map for mech, just because of your... actually... I was going to say your defensive setup here on 3 bases, but you do spread yourself a little bit thin here, as opposed to like Alcyone. Like Alcyone, you can turtle up quite hard. Regardless, things, they come in for a surround, they catch the Cyclones! And Cyclones get shut down, the Hellions as well. Ooh. GuMiho getting punished for being a little bit too active, and with that, Reynor once again strips map control away from GuMiho. And GuMiho's in a bit of trouble. And thankfully he has these Banshees, but outside of that, he has no army whatsoever. He has 2 Hellions, 2 Hellbats. That's his army. GuMiho building up towards tanks, trying to get his production up and running as well. The problem here is that with mech, you do need to build up and you need to like snowball out of control by being as efficient as possible. But GuMiho, he's bled out so much. 8 Hellions, 2 Cyclones. Like, he doesn't really have anything to threaten Reynor. And that means that Reynor, he can, again, freely drone. And he has. He's up to 83 workers. Like, Reynor, he has ideal saturation. He's on 4 base saturation already. Now he can focus on his army. He can work towards Hive Tech, Spire, Infestation Pit, 1-1 upgrades. Reynor's been so greedy, but he can get away with it. Because he shut down all the Hellions. And Cyclones. So Reynor, he's already at the ideal worker count, and now he's focusing on his army production. For now, it's going to be Lingbane into Roach Ravager. He is getting into Roach Ravager, spreading all of his creep. GuMiho, even though he was working on a variation of Battle Mech, at this point, I feel like we have to turtle up a little bit. Now we're getting to tank production. No more Cyclones, just tank Hellion. We do have a marauding force of Cyclones that are kept back at home, but we're done with Cyclone production. So we could be in for a longer one. We could we could be here for a little bit. These Banshees, they've done well for themselves. Getting another 3 drones, very important. Do pick away at the economy. Additional Hellion tank on the way, still. Getting our 4th base up running. GuMiho getting up to his own 84 worker count. Additional factories on the way. Again, the army that GuMiho has is not going to be ideal against Roach or Ling Roach yet, but we're getting there. Once we build up the tank count. I love that because of this Raven, like, we can just clear up all this creep. Even without scans. So many tumors going down. Corruptors are on the horizon. We're getting there. We have Hurricane engines on the way. We have advanced servos. Getting into all of our mech upgrades. Gee, how many Hellions do we have? Like, the army is large. Like, GuMiho's maxed out, but a lot of the supply is in Hellbats. Like, he's made so many Hellions here. I guess just because it was a mineral dump for him to max out. And now we're pushing. GuMiho's maxed out, is moving, is pushing. We have 6 tanks, not the best tank count here. 4 tanks with the main army. At the same time, it does hit the northern base. Drone's going down. Bane not quite engaging yet. GuMiho does threaten, but yeah, he pulls back. I appreciate this. He's going to be pulling back. We'll keep up with the Lings. Likewise, still active with some Cyclones and Hellbats, making sure that the base is denied. And GuMiho is going to rotate over instead towards the right-hand side. We'll knock down this would-be base. This would be sick. And tanks are sieging up the army, not quite in position, so that base should fall. At the same time, Reynor hits the southern CC. Hatchery goes down, but here come the Blinding Clouds. Yeah, we cover the tanks. The tanks, they do nothing. Ultras, they dive in. And we should be able to clean this up. Every tank going down. It was only 4 tanks. They do fall. Thor's having a hard time, and Reynor takes a fight. Isn't able to keep pushing. Actually, might be able to. No defensive tanks. Thor does hold. Reynor backs off. Is reinforcing. GuMiho rebuilding his tanks, getting into Liberators, getting into Thor production. We have to be careful not to make too many Thors. Thors are ideal against Brood Lords, yes, and we already saw the Corruptors, but still mainly working with a ground army. And this is the problem with Side Delta, is that you spread yourself so thin on this map. Like, the bases are so far apart. Yeah, Lings, they get into the mineral line, we get on top of the Hellbats and Cyclones. Reynor hiving in between the bases, and we're pulling GuMiho apart a little bit here. Ultras diving in. Reynor overextending a little bit. Takes out another tank. Now, this goes both ways, in the sense that if GuMiho was being active, likewise, it's difficult for Reynor to, like, go back and forth between bases, but Reynor has the map control. And GuMiho is stuck trying to keep up. And again, once again, GuMiho just not quite in position. It's so important for GuMiho to keep an eye on the army movements and where exactly Reynor is. We need some sensor towers, as they're just now finishing. And this is all that Reynor needs to do. Just time and time again, try to knock down these fringe bases and make use of this bank. The tank count, still only 4 tanks. Interesting. I don't know how I feel about this. With 21 Hellbats, Jesus, like, it's mainly a Hellbat army. Speaking of, we knocked down the Hellbats. Getting on top of the Thors, lightning clouds on the tanks. We don't quite break through. This feels like, there we go. I was like, this feels like a euthermal army. Like, what's going on? Now we have some BCs on the way. My apologies, I missed the triple starport, but we're getting up to 4 starports, going for a big BC transition. Now we see why we were not really one to embrace tanks too much, as we're spending gas elsewhere. So, yeah, really risky style, I would say. Like, GuMiho is so vulnerable. I mean, look at the space here. Like, what do we have to defend? 1 lib and 1 planetary. Even down here, like, we don't really have the typical mech defensive setup, because we'd usually be working with a heavy tank count. And GuMiho's getting away with it, in a sense that Reynor, if he was aware of how vulnerable some of these bases were, I'm sure he'd be more aggressive, right? Like, I'm sure Reynor would be all over this. But I'm sure he's assuming that we have a better defensive line. Better than we actually have. So this is, yeah, really, like, I feel uncomfortable. Like, I feel like scared for GuMiho, because it's like, this feels illegal. but he's doing it. Doesn't feel right. Liberators have arrived, threatening bases. Aliens clearing up quite a bit of creep here in the center of the map. Honestly, GuMiho's done a great job at making sure that there's barely any creep to work with. Most active tumors are denied. Getting into +2 ship weapons, building up more BCs. Aliens are being active. Yeah, we're going BC Thor, straight up. BC Hellion Thor. This base is going to be killed, not a cancel. Not bad. Now, when it comes to Reynor, we've been focusing a lot on what GuMiho's been up to. Reynor has an interesting army. He does have Neural. I believe we're lacking spellcasters. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, 12. We have 12 Infestors in the back line. 12 Infestors. We have very little Roach Ravager to work with. But that's a lot of Infestors. The reason why we made so many Infestors was because of the Thor count. Like, so for those that are curious, typically the best answer, the best counter to Thor is to mind control them, is to neural the Thors. And because of that, and because GuMiho is now going into BC, like, our plan was already to neural the Thors. And once we do, now they're going to be even stronger and even better against the BCs as well. So this is going to be, yeah, an interesting dynamic. We'll see if GuMiho gets a read on the high Infestor count, and if he's able to avoid that. Likewise, of course, we can always neural the BCs as well. It's going to be a little bit more difficult because the BCs are going to be further back. Like, the Thors are going to be on the front lines. They're going to be the buffer zone between the Zerg army and the BC. And usually, how would we deter Infestors from the Terran army? That's what tanks come into play, right? Tanks and Liberators, they typically zone away the ground army. But we have a low tank count. We have how many tanks? 6. 6 tanks, one Liberator. We'll see how this all comes together. So we're making 10 more Infestors. Oh my god. We're getting up to 22. 22 Infestors. Now, at what point do we have too many Infestors, right? Can we literally neural everything? Can we neural every unit with 22 Infestors? I mean, we could. Okay. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready for the neural at the same time. Massive link counterattack hits the natural base. Fungals will connect. The Biles. Ooh. They graze the army. Infestors have been revealed. And can they close the distance? Remember, the tank count might be a little bit low, but they are coming forward. They do push forward. Fungal once again connects. Ooh, massive Dorito cannon here on the army. We dodge the piles. The army is vulnerable. Meanwhile, at the same time, Lings, they busting into the natural, busting into the main, came to the production. It's one and done here for GuMiho. Reynor being forced back. The BCs, they do head towards that northern base. And we expose the ground army. Yeah, the yoinks are real. 2 tanks go down and a Thor. BCs, they take down the base. Infestors are on the hunt. Oh, they're coming in. GuMiho backs off. He does spot them. Does spot the Infestors. Behind this, Lings, they're done with the natural. They head towards the third. Miles go up. That tank count getting lower and lower. We're down to 2 tanks. And again, without tanks, I feel like there's nothing to really stop the ground Infestor army. How many Infestors are we up to? Still 22. Yeah, 22 Infestors. Crazy. Leagues are finally cleaned up, and we did get 15 SCV kills. Oh, but we are setting up with turrets, with more tanks, reinforcements soon to arrive. Reynor up. Doesn't quite get a tank. Ooh. Yeah, big volleys going up. There we go, 2 tanks go down. There's the first mural. Yamato on the on the Thor. And the Biles should take down the final tank. No more tanks! No more tanks here for GuMiho. More BCs, they dive in. Not too sure about that, since we can just neural it immediately. BC is knurled. And GuMiho, where are reinforcements here? Where are the reinforcements? There we go. I was like, I'm pretty sure we've been building up an army. There it is. The tanks that broken free. They were chilling back at home. I was like, I'm pretty sure we've been making tanks this entire time. And they have arrived. And most of the BC survived. Like, GuMiho did well. He took down a base, took down 2 bases. Tanks are pushing in. And now GuMiho has a split force. He's got his tank army here towards the south. He's got his BC towards the north. Ooh, we are cutting the infestors off. Uh-oh. Reynor's out of position. He's caught out of position. He's stuck here on the low ground, and we're looking to try to cut him off from the third. At the same time, BC is going towards the north as well. Reynor in a rough position. How do we break out? We're stuck. We're locked in. Like, GuMiho, he's just free to go for all these bases. Like, we're just cut off from the entire northern half of the map. Aye. Oh, God. Yeah, we're stuck on the low ground, and Reynor, this is not the place to be. He's being pinned back. Does neural some of these stores. At the same time, we're losing the main, losing everything. I think that's just game. I know we have a bank. We have 9,000 minerals in the bank, but we're going to lose everything. Like, in one fell swoop, like, Reynor's stuck. We're working on the tanks one at a time. True, we continue to scan. Like, GuMiho, he can't believe what he's seeing. He's like, oh my god, this is great. And Reynor's going to lose everything up here. Every base is going to fall. Reynor, he's going to be stuck on one base, which means even though Reynor has a bank, he only has one base to make use of the larva. So he's going to be out of larva as well. And yeah, everything's falling. Even top right, all the bases will fall. Reynor, he's stuck on one base, and yeah, just Reynor, he just misread the movement. He was getting ready for a push from the south. He was getting ready for this, but again, he just got out position. It's just, yeah, it's just over. I don't, like, we can't even base trade from here. Like, how do we base trade with this army? Like, Infestors are not designed for that. And here we go, the Ultras, they come in. We are breaking out, so the Thors are not here. Phew. So we do finally break out as the Thors moved out of position. But it's a little bit too late for that. As the Ultras, they're going to be able to break through all these tanks. Meanwhile, we are just repositioning up here. If you're wondering where the Thors went, they went up here towards the north. We are just rallying towards the top right base. And GuMiho has the entire map. Yeah, the final hatchery goes down. Alright, we got some work to do. As Reynor's heavily supply blocked. Reynor, he's rebuilding the infestation, but he has to rebuild the roach warren, he rebuild the everything. The spawning pool, sorry, the spawning pool, and everything. The lair. We got a lot of catching up to do. We have to also break free from the supply block, as we have no larva. So making as many overlords as we can. And now GuMiho can consolidate his army and bring everything together and go for the kill. Go for the final fight. I mean, I say the final fight. GuMiho can sustain himself in a longer game. All GuMiho has to do, realistically, all he has to do is deny these bases. It's deny these expansions. If he can just contain Reynor, that's his win condition. But he's going for it. He's going for the main fight. We have 22 Infestors. Murals coming in. Oh, big tank volleys though. The Infestors, they melt! The Infestors, they melt before the tanks. GG gets called, and GuMiho will take the series at 2-0. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Whew. Again, it was quite back and forth between Reynor and GuMiho. There was a lot of potential with all the Infestors of Reynor, and things were looking quite close between them, but alas, towards the end, it didn't matter that Reynor had like 6k, 5k in the bank or anything like that. He was outpositioned. Because that he was stuck on the low ground, he could not push in, and he could not save his bases. He lost, what was it, like 5 or 6 bases towards the north. Every hatchery fell, all the tech fell, we got heavily supply blocked. Yeah, it was just a really, really rough moment there for Reynor. Just misreading the movement of GuMiho and just being caught, just being caught out, just straight up. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations, GuMiho does take the series. He does advance on into the next round to face off against Nightmare in a TVP. Let's go. And if there was ever any doubt, you know, I'm sure there were people talking about how, like, oh, you know, GuMiho, he won Home Story Cup, but there were no big Zerg players to face off against him. I mean, if Reynor was there, GuMiho showing off that he can definitely take it to Reynor with his bio and his mech as well. He is a terrifying opponent, and very few players play mech quite like GuMiho. Like, I should also reiterate that this was a unique style out of GuMiho, going for, if you remember, he set on a very low tank count initially. He was going for initially battle mech into Hellion tank, into Hellion Thor, into mass BC. Like, it was a crazy transition, and there was a big period where GuMiho was vulnerable. We spoke about it, right? Where GuMiho, he was vulnerable to these attacks where Reynor was getting damage done. He was knocking down bases, knocking down mineral lines, but then eventually GuMiho got into his BCs and was able to be active once again.